Coming up, I'll be talking with Luz Maria Frias, Director of the St. Paul Office of Human Rights and Equal Economic Opportunity. That's next on the St. Paul Forum. Thank you for joining us on the St. Paul Forum. I'm Lisa Tabor, your co-host and guest host with John Forty for Mike Wassenaar while he is on sabbatical. I'm here today talking with Luz Maria Frias, the Director of St. Paul Department of Human Rights and Equal Economic Opportunity. Thank you so much for Luz Maria for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're really happy to have a director in that new position now, and you are 1 year old.
That's
a little
correct.
bit more than 1 year.
I've been in place for an entire year.
Yes, and so congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it's been exciting as well as somewhat challenging. So we're eager to hear more about that, your experiences.
It has been an incredible opportunity, and that's how I see it. Certainly a lot of work, but nothing that I didn't imagine. I knew it would be a great deal of work. We have organizational capacity issues and structuring issues, and certainly big policy issues, and then procedures and policies as a whole, and then 5 divisions. So there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done.
Yeah, and all of those issues are actually what led up to the creation of this new department. Can you tell us a little bit about the history? How did the department come into being, and what was the catalyst for that?
Absolutely. Mayor Chris Coleman had spearheaded an independent audit, and it was performed by an outside entity to look at the city and how we manage our business opportunities, particularly with the protected classes, women and individuals of color, and looked at it in a real strategic format, and to assess whether or not we were offering those opportunities in a way that best optimized on what could be done within the city structure. And the audit came back and said we can do quite a bit differently. Not so much that we didn't have the good intent, it was more along the lines that it wasn't integrated, and it wasn't in a fashion where things were working collaboratively and strategically. They were found in their silos. And so the challenge was to build a new department centered around that, so that we would all work together in the same direction, and that there would be more cross-collaboration and more communications as well. So that's what really was the foundation of the impetus for going forward with the department. And
so what departments were merged?
Well, we have staff from the finance department, which would have been the procurement and our printing. We have staff from the planning and economic development, PED, that came over from there. And then we have staff from a standalone department, which was the human rights department, which is now a division. And we created all of those, and then actually one person also that was working outside of that department, all into one to form the new department.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how for what reason was part of the finance department rolled into this merger?
Within the finance department, the procurement and the contract analysis. And procurement basically means anything that the city buys and any type of bidding that the city engages in from a city standpoint in terms of construction opportunities or big purchases that was being previously housed in finance came out of that and came over to this new department. So if there's a bidding process and we want to make sure that minorities and women business owners have access to those bidding opportunities, they're now found in our department.
Okay, and so then it's your department that's held accountable for making sure that those goals are met.
That's correct.
Do you know what the goals are?
Well, we have a variety of goals. And so within the construction sector, for instance, we have a 10% goal. Within professional services, that would be architectural services and electrician or engineer and things. Actually, I should say engineer, not electrician. That would be 2%. So that's within the business structure. And then we also have within the workforce structure, and those are another set of goals as well. And the difficulty there, I should point out, is that the city doesn't have control of its own workforce. It was merged with the county about 10 years ago. So that's a whole new dynamic that we're building and really becoming accustomed to, because we're charged with that responsibility. And so we have to be more proactive with those collaborations.
So I'm intrigued because I hadn't heard about the merger or the role of the city and the county together in internal human resources for the city. Is that what you're saying, or?
No, external, so workforce.
Okay,
so most people would be familiar with Workforce Solutions. And so that entity actually represents both the city and the county. Most cities around the country have jurisdiction and control over their own workforce programs, the WIB. And in St. Paul, we're one of only, I think, 2 cities in the country that doesn't. And so Ramsey County Workforce Solutions manages both, the city's cachet, if you will, as well as the county's.
Okay, so in this case, the county is sort of responsible for the city meeting its goals and workforce development?
The city and the county work together towards that end, but overall, we manage the workforce goals within the construction projects and then within the large vending opportunities, supplier opportunities that occur with our city as well. So we do that. So those workforce goals, for instance, minority would be 11%, female would be 6%, and apprenticeship would be 15%. So we manage those. But we're also charged with becoming more resourceful and having those workforce opportunities present themselves. Say, for instance, like Central Quarter, the building of Central Quarter. We don't necessarily provide the jobs, but the charge for us is to think outside the box and work with partners to make sure that those protected classes have the most opportunities.
Sure. And so while we're on this subject then, anyway, let's dig a little deeper. The workforce development responsibilities are part, or I guess Section 3 falls under that?
That would be distinct. That would be distinct. So let me take you back a little bit. In terms of the workforce goals that I just mentioned, we have what's called affirmative action employment opportunity compliances. So when a vendor contracts out with us in excess of $50,000, then we ask of them to make sure that their workforce is diverse. So it's within that setting that we would look at their goals and their workforce to make sure that they meet our goals. And for instance, in 2009, year to date, the goal was 11%, and we came in at 15.4%. So we exceeded those goals in terms of minority workforce. For female, it wasn't as strong. We had a goal of 6%, and we came in at 3.5%. And when I say we, it's all the vendors that are working with us in excess of $50,000 that are non-construction related necessarily, and construction within the scope that we define. And then apprenticeships, because there's so many members on the bench from the union, there are less apprenticeship opportunities out there. But the goal is 15%, and we came in at 6%.
All right. And so how do you work with your partners, like the unions or vendors, to help them achieve their goals?
Right away, we have 2 compliance officers that are in constant communication. Those vendors have to report every 6 months, so twice a year, as long as the contract is in effect. And we then have them report to us what those numbers are. In terms of the goals and working with unions, we work with them to make sure that the unions are as representative as possible of the community. And that's a desire that they share in too, because as their workforce gets older, they're trying to bring in new, younger workforce, and chances are that those are more diverse than what their existing workforce is. So working together with them to try to be as creative as possible, particularly with apprenticeships. And I think that's where the door really opens up to communities that may have not historically gone to unions. Oh, good. And so now clarify for me what Section 3 is and how that's different.